Hi there, welcome to Real Life on the Homestead in Ontario. I'm Marie, and today is April 1st. I'm feeling like quite a fool because yesterday it was 10 degrees, today -9. And you know what? This is a spring that will never arrive, but I'm going to continue to live my best life on the homestead, regardless of all the politics that are going on around the world, south of the border, up here in Canada. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead, live my best life, and keep sharing what I'm doing on the homestead with you. Today, I'm going to be doing a Texas-style brisket of beef in the oven. It is cool outside. The nice thing is this piece of meat, after cooked, I will slice up, freeze, and then we could just pull it out of the freezer as we need it for a meal. And then I could share it with my son also. He takes them home for those ready-to-go meals. But let me show you. And yes, the kitchen's a mess. It always is because I've got so much on the go all the time. If you've been to my kitchen before, you know there's always several projects on the go. The first thing I do is when I take it out of the plastic wrap that has the blood on it, I rinse off the meat and then I will pat it dry. At this beautiful piece of meat I have here, I just rinse this off. And I always rinse my meat when I pick it up because it's inside those plastic bags and it's sitting in blood. I like to rinse it off, put it on a clean tea towel, and then pat it dry. Now, I am going to take some of this fat off, but no, I will not be throwing that out. I am going to render that down for some tallow. None of my beef fat ever goes to waste, right, my carnivore friends? And on this side, it's a little thicker on some spots, so I'm going to trim it up. So let me get my carving knife out, and I will trim this up. I like to leave about, I'd say about 1/4 inch of fat. This actually has less fat than it appeared. But I do want to take that first little layer off, just to make sure that my spices get in there. And there's like some kind of skin on this fat. I like to remove that. I want it to be able to penetrate. I'm not a butcher. I just do what works for me. And let's try not to get too much of this fat off because obviously I'm hitting the meat there and I want to keep a fat cap on. Actually not too bad. I do want to get just cutting into here. Like I said, I want the spices to get in there. There's just like a little skin on there. Like I said, not a butcher, so I don't know any proper terminology when it comes to this stuff. All I know is the meat I like and how I cook it. And that's all I'm sharing with you. Never claim to be an expert, ever. Even when you think you're an expert. All right, so I'm going to flip this. Now on the brisket, there's always this little gristly bit along the edge. I'm not sure what it's called, but I know it's, like I said, it's gristly, a little tough. So what I do is I trim this off and I just give it to the dogs with their raw food. Because I'm sure it's good collagen, but it's going to be tough on the palate for us. So I cut it off. And it's not very much, but I will just add it to their food and they'll enjoy it. And it's just along this top edge. This side is fine. It's always along this edge. If somebody knows what that's called, let me know. Comment below because, hey, I'm happy to learn from anybody else. So I have trimmed off this brisket and we're ready to season it. I did not mention, I took my tea towel that I had under here and I soaked it in hot water with some of my laundry detergent. I can link that recipe below. It has borax in it, so it really cleans it nicely. Wring it out, and then it's just gonna go in the regular wash. So it's not gonna contaminate my laundry, but I find it so much better than working on paper towel. Now for our spices, let me share with you. I've just come back from Budapest and I brought home some smoked paprika. I'm really excited about this because number one, it's an amazing quality product and it's gonna give it that smoke flavor without using liquid smoke. Also, I've got hot and sweet paprika. So I'm gonna be using all those paprikas, and because I will use the hot paprika, I will not use what I typically use, which is the cayenne pepper. I'm gonna leave the cayenne pepper out this time. My garlic powder, this is freeze-dried garlic that I make in my freeze dryer, and onion powder, same thing. No salts in these, they're just the powders. Pepper, salt, and the recipe does call for brown sugar, and I haven't been using a lot of sugar in my recipes, but for this one I will, because it gives it that little bit of a glaze that is also, it makes the bark look like it's been smoked. So I'm going to be seasoning up, and I would say for this size of brisket, which I tried to weigh and it was heavier than my scale would take. You know what, I'm just guessing because I threw away the label already, but I think it's about 10 pounds. What I'm gonna do is about a cup of seasoning. Do not stress over the amounts of seasoning. If you like it more garlicky, add more garlic powder. If you like it hotter, add more of your cayenne pepper or hot paprika. So I'm just gonna season everything up. Starting with the smoked paprika. I'm gonna do about 2 tablespoons. Now, I don't need to open these up because I already have some. So I'm gonna put those aside and just get my containers. I had the sweet paprika and the hot paprika from my last visit to Budapest 6 months ago. So we're good. That one was the mild, so I could put some more on there. The hot, I'm not gonna use as much because I am substituting this for the cayenne and it is hot. So I'd say I'm gonna do a teaspoon of the hot and a total of about, I'd say 5 tablespoons of the smoked and sweet combined. Some pepper. Salt. Salt I'm gonna do about, I'd say 3 tablespoons. And I'm gonna do the exact same amounts on the other side. Garlic powder. Again, I do this from my own garlic that I freeze dry. I'm gonna say a tablespoon per side. And I will not give you measurements for this because it depends on the size of your brisket and it depends on your palate. So you're gonna season this as you like. And brown sugar, it's about 2 tablespoons. My brown sugar is organic cane sugar, and I add unsulfured molasses to it and make my own brown sugar. So now we're just gonna rub this in, mixing all the spices together. Trying to keep as much on my board as possible. And make sure you get some on the sides. It's like you're giving it a nice massage saying, I really love you, so after you cook up, love me back. Sides. And I'm gonna do the exact same thing on the bottom half. I've placed some parchment paper to line my pan. And then I'm going to put another parchment paper over it. And these are chafing dishes that are made of stainless steel, so I cook with them all the time. And I'm going to put the lid that belongs to this pan over it and place this in the fridge for 24 hours. Show you what this looks like tomorrow morning. Well, it is the next morning, and I've just taken my brisket out of the fridge. I'm gonna let it sit at room temperature for about an hour before placing it in the oven. But let me show you what everything looks like. So the spices have been sitting overnight, and this is what we have. It's soaked nicely into the meat, and that's what we want. So I am going to put that parchment back on, and we are going to seal this up really, really well, because we want to slow cook this and not lose any of the juices. So what I do is I seal it with foil, and I seal it really well around the edges. I'm gonna need another sheet here. And I know people are concerned about foil touching meats. Don't forget, there is a layer of parchment paper all around this meat. So it is protected. It's now 6 a.m., so I'm gonna let this sit for a while and then put it in the oven, let it cook all day, and then I'm just gonna let it rest until it's dinner time. This is a hands-off type of meal, and remember, when we're carving this up, I'll show you how I package it so that we're gonna have leftovers. They're gonna be in the freezer. They're gonna be ready to make meals. And the nice thing is, it's carnivore. It's the proper human diet. Yes, there are spices, and I have chosen to use spices in my carnivore lifestyle because I find the only spice that negatively affects me is cayenne pepper. So I've traded it in for the hot, spicy paprika. I get the heat, but whatever is in cayenne pepper that doesn't do well with me, I'm not using. So I'm still getting the heat, I'm still getting the flavor. I find that it's a lot easier for myself to stick to that carnivore lifestyle if I have a lot of flavors in my meat. So I am going to continue to use spices. I am going to continue to use garlic and onions, and even sauces. If I'm not eating a lot of the sauce, but I'm giving flavor to my meat, and I'm gonna say I'm at about 95% carnivore. Every once in a while, I may have a vegetable on the side as long as it's low oxalate, but I'm happy with that. That makes my journey work well for me. And you do what works well for you. So we're gonna get this in the oven. So into the oven this goes at 320 degrees. We're gonna check it at the 5-hour mark, but this normally takes about 6 hours. I have inserted my meat probe. It's a meter, and I will link that below because I find this is a fantastic tool to cook your meats perfectly, be it in the oven or on the barbecue. And 320 degrees. Well, friends, our time is up. My meat thermometer has gone off, and look at this beauty. Just gonna take the foil off, and then let's peek under the parchment, and look at this. Yeah, think it came out of a smoker. It's got that beautiful bark, and the smells, aromas are coming out of this that are just beautiful. I'm just going to take some of my homemade barbecue sauce, and you can use any barbecue sauce of your choice, and just brush it on. I don't put a lot on. I'd rather put it on the table and let people add it to their meat as they wish. But this is going to need to rest. And my meat thermometer, the meter, will tell me exactly how long to rest it. But if you don't have a meter, no worries. It takes about half an hour and it will rest perfectly. And now, the moment of truth. Look at these beautiful juices. I'm going to strain these off. I will be using some juices in packaging the meat for the freezer, but I will remove the fat and save that as flavored beef tallow. Yes, that's right, flavored beef tallow. You don't want to throw that out. And for carving, I like to carve it right in the juices because as the meat slices, it picks up some of those juices, makes for perfect sandwiches. I just place it on the plate and eat it as is. We're going to feed a family of 5 tonight, 5 adults. And then with the rest, like I said, I'll be packaging that up. But look at how beautiful these are sliced. And when you're cutting your meat, make sure it's against the grain. That is the trick to tender meat. Cut it against the grain. Look how it's fall apart, yet it has texture. That's perfection. After cutting for our dinner tonight, I ended up with this beautiful slab left over. I will carve it up for packaging. This was a $95 brisket from Costco, and look at how much meat we have. It's great value, and when you cook it the right way, no one will complain. This is a perfect tender cut of meat when cooked properly. I'm going to package it up in these containers, and I'm going to be making containers for pretty much lunches and dinners, and I will weigh it out to give you an indication of how much meat we got. And of course, those juices, they're going to go on the meat in the containers. So I'm going to place pretty much slices that are thick enough to make a dinner for 2, or I'd say a lunch for 4. And I'm going to weigh these out, and I ended up with 20 to 24 ounces per container. That's 1.5 pounds. And then, of course, I add some of those juices to keep the moisture in, and for reheating, it will absorb into the meat. Makes for a perfect, perfect way to store meat. After packaging everything out, I ended up with 7 containers, 20 to 24, and all this juice, like I said, I will be placing over the meat, and I'm separating that fat. This is incredible value for the purpose of a carnivore diet or any household meal. This is great to have. You cook it on a Sunday and you have meals for during the week, or easy pull out of the freezer meals. Just gonna mix up my juices and pour them on each container. And I now try to divide it equally because I do want to make sure that I have enough for all of them. I've already strained off the fat. So these are pretty much just the flavored juices. Doesn't take long. These juices really do help when you're reheating later. And this fat I'm placing in the fridge to let it harden up. After hardening up, this is our flavored tallow. Look at that. I will take it out of this jar and put it in a smaller container. But isn't that beautiful? Don't throw it out. You're throwing out flavor. And I'm just going to put these lids on and labels so that everybody knows how to reheat these. Very simple way to preserve your meals. Now, I hope you've enjoyed watching me make the brisket. I always have little treats along the way. I hope you try this. It's absolutely delicious. Please like, subscribe, share with your friends, and go out, live your best life.